I believe this is the rear driver's side. The guy didn't say anything, just checked his phone and strolled across the lot to one of the office buildings. I didn't look back. I saw her gaze follow him for a second before returning to me. I believe I hit something near the curb, she explained. I'm truly sorry. I understand you're busy. Don't worry, I said. This happens all the time. I kneeled down and began to work. The tire was shot, a clean puncture, nothing overly dramatic. While I was loosening the lug nuts, she stood nearby, arms folded tightly over her chest. You don't have to wait outside, I explained. It's cold, she uttered a gentle laugh. That's okay. Beat is seated in that office. Plus, I don't think I'd be very welcome in there right now. I didn't ask, just continued working. Silence lingered between us for a while, yet it was not awkward. She gazed silently as if her thoughts were far away. Do you work around here? I asked casually. She nodded. Third floor accounting firm. It had to be entertaining, I insisted. She smirked, thrilling. After another minute, she added, That was my husband, by the way. Just so you don't wonder, I looked up, I figured. She paused, then said, He's not usually like that. He simply stated, No, actually, that is not true. He is. She didn't say it with anger, more like someone confessing that the weather was cold. This is just a fact. I fastened the final lug nut, stood up, and gave the tire a spin. All set. You're good to go. She seemed truly thankful. Thank you, really. Not an issue. She reached into her purse. Do I pay here? Nope. Your roadside assistance plan includes coverage for this. She nodded, paused for a bit, and then asked, Do you always work this route most days? She offered me the same tiny smile. That's good to know. You are easy to converse to. Then she turned and went into her car. Before closing the door, she glanced straight ahead, not at me, and sat for a second as if she needed to gather her thoughts. Then she drove away. 5 days later, I saw her again. I was finishing up an oil change on a Dodge Ram when I heard a familiar engine sound, the quiet purr that some Toyotas produce when they're running smoothly. I looked up and there was the same silver Camry, Melissa. She parked somewhat crooked on the side bay. There is no appointment, no call. I just showed there, and when she stepped out, she didn't seem shocked to see me. Perhaps she hoped I would be the one here. Hey, she said with a small smile. I believe something is amiss with the engine. It made a strange noise earlier. I wiped my hands with a rag and walked over. Weird, maybe a soft knocking. It ceased after a minute. I nodded. Let me listen. She followed me as I opened the hood and started the vehicle. Everything sounded okay. Belts, fluids, and idling are all clean. I listened longer than necessary to be sure, only in part, mostly to give myself a moment. Melissa correct? I asked. She appeared astonished as I remembered. Yes, you have a good memory. I closed the hood. The engine sounds okay. I don't hear anything unusual. She adjusted her weight. Perhaps I dreamt it. Something about the way she said it indicated she wasn't here for the car. It was not flirtatious or dramatic, simply exhausted honesty. Do you want to sit down for a minute? I offered, nodding to the bench behind the service garage. We had the finest view of the back alley in town. She laughed softly. Tempting. We sat. I took 2 water bottles from the mini fridge beside the tool rack and offered one to her. She accepted it and peered at the bottle cap as if it contained answers. It was a rough day, I asked. She nodded. Perhaps a rough year. I did not push. I've never been the sort to rummage around in other people's messes. Nonetheless, she kept chatting, not oversharing, just a slow unfolding. I used to love my job, she added. Numbers, routine, and structure. Now I go there and feel suffocated. I feel like I am vanishing. I remained quiet. My husband Tom, she continued, owns a few eateries. He's busy, constantly on the move. That does not mean he is a nasty person. Just, I believe we stopped seeing one another a long time ago. She paused. Then he looked across at me. Do you ever get that feeling, that you're in a crowded place yet feel entirely alone? I hesitated before nodding. Yeah, I understand how you feel. There was a prolonged hush. She broke it. Sorry, I don't normally pour everything on strangers. You did not dump anything, I said. You've just chatted, that's permitted. She smiled again, but it was softer this time, a little cracked around the corners. Do you ever wonder if you made the wrong decision? She asked. I looked at her and replied, Sometimes. Yeah. She looked down at the water bottle again. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, concerning decisions that seemed correct at the time but are now questionable. Her phone broke. She looked at the screen, sighed, and turned it face down. I stood up gently. At the very least, you are clear to drive. Thank you for checking, she remarked while standing. Even if I made everything up, people frequently come in for less. Trust me. She walked me back to her car. Before entering, she halted. Do you mind if I ask you something? Go ahead. Do I seem I do not know? Out of line for talking to you like way. I shake my head. Not at all. You appear to have needed to speak with someone who is willing to listen. She appeared to cry for a brief moment before blinking it away. I'm not crazy, just exhausted. I believe you, I said. She got inside the car but did not start it, just sat there, hands on the steering wheel. I softly knocked on the rooftop. Try not to envision any further knocking sounds. It made her giggle. This time it's the genuine deal. She gave a tiny wave as she drew away. I saw her drive away. Her tail lights are vanishing around the corner. This should have been the end of it. However, I knew it wasn't. I hadn't seen Melissa in more than a week. Not that I expected to. Our final talk has stayed with me more than I'd like to confess. There was nothing overdramatic about it, but there was something about the way she gazed down at her water bottle, as if it knew her better than her spouse. It went deeper than I expected. It was Wednesday. I recall because it rained the night before, and I was cleaning a customer's hood with an old t-shirt when I noticed her automobile again. Same silver Camry, pulling up slowly. This time she parked straight. I looked across at my coworker Darren, who had just finished a 2-day brake job. Take 5, I asked. Whatever, guy. Your fan club is back, he replied with a smirk. Melissa stepped outside. I'm wearing pants, sneakers, and a loose dark green hoodie. No makeup. Her hair was tied up in a way that suggested she didn't care about her appearance. Or perhaps they lacked the necessary energy. She gave me a half smile. I'm starting to feel like a stalker, she admitted. Is the engine still generating ghost noises? I asked. She shrugged. Nah, this time I just stopped by. I leaned against the door frame. There are no made-up repairs today. Nope, I just figured. I take the longer route to the grocery shop. She paused. And maybe see whether you were present. Her tone was not playful. Just be honest. Give me 5 minutes to finish this and I'll get a coffee, I said. Can I tag along? I gazed at her. Sure. We got into my truck, a beaten-up Ford F-150, nothing glamorous, and drove toward the gas station down the road. We did not say anything on the drive there, only the sound of tires and old country music at low volume. It was easy, simple. We stopped at the gas station and got 2 coffees. I offered to pay. She insisted on dividing it. I said I'm not helpless. I enjoy that about her. Instead of returning right away, I drove the back routes out of town. Nothing planned, just driving. She did not seem to mind. Windows are partly down. Wind blew over her hair, coffee in her lap. She laid her head against the seat and whispered, for the first time in a long time, I just existed. Without performing, I did not respond, just continued driving. A few miles away, I pulled up to the side of a deserted overlook. It was not scenic. In the distance, all that is seen is trees and farms. But it was quiet. We sat for a while drinking coffee and enjoying the silence in the cab. She eventually remarked, I used to enjoy road trips. Before I got married, before everything got scheduled. She gazed outside the passenger window. We had a huge fight last night, she added abruptly. I turned to face her. You okay? No. She replied, but I shall be. What was it about? She laughed without humor. Honestly, it all started with deciding which kind of detergent to buy. But it was not about detergent. I waited. It was about how I always make minor mistakes, how I never focused, how I used to have fun. That is what he said. I used to have fun, she turned to face me. Was I meant to become a cartoon just to make him happy? No, I replied. You are permitted to modify. She stared at me for a long time like she was looking for something on my face. Then she added, I believe I married the idea of safety, about someone who would never depart, but I didn't consider how a safe may still kill you inside. I nodded. I'm not sure what more to say. She leaned forward, resting her coffee on the dashboard. Then he turned back to me. I've considered leaving, 100 times, 1,000, but I always convinced myself to stay, out of habit, out of terror. I did not say anything. It was not my place. Then she questioned softly, Do you think I am crazy? No, I replied. I believe you are honest. She smiled barely. Then she looked at me and said, Do you think I should leave him? I took a brief peek at the trees, then back at her. I believe you already know the answer. You're just afraid to say it aloud. She did not speak, just stared ahead. Then she said something I was unprepared for. I regret marrying him. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. She simply said it in the same manner that people admit to taking the wrong highway exit. A calm truth. Then she leaned back. She closed her eyes and exhaled. A minute later, she reopened her eyes. Can we drive a bit longer? I nodded. She didn't ask where we were headed. She didn't care. For once, she appeared to be at peace. It was as if she was remembering who she was before. We drove for another half hour, barely speaking, just two people in a vehicle with nothing to prove and nowhere to go. When I arrived back in town, she looked over and said, "Thank you for allowing me to be anonymous for a short period of time." "You are not no one," I said. She grinned and glanced aside. Still, she thanked you. I dropped her off near a food store. She didn't ask me to walk her in, just opened the door. I stepped out. Before closing it, he gazed at me once more. "You do not judge me. That means more than you realize." She closed the door and walked away. I saw him about a week after the drive. Not her or him. Tom. He arrived in the middle of the afternoon during the typical sluggish hour. I was under the hood of a Chrysler when I observed a person standing just outside the bay. I cleaned my hands and stood up to see him. Tall, clean, buttoned up as usual, wearing sunglasses and holding a leather briefcase with one hand. He was not smiling. "Are you Eric?" he asked, his voice flat. "Yeah," I spoke slowly. "Is something wrong with your car?" "No," he replied. "My wife has been spending a lot of time here." He let it linger in the air. There was no emotion in his voice. However, there was tightness behind the eyes. "I didn't realize she required so much automobile work," he added. I remained calm. "She's come by a few times, nothing serious." He moved a little closer, still keeping the calculated distance. He appeared to be attempting to demonstrate control while remaining within bounds. "I understand," he said. "You're the calm, good man kind. Work with your hands. Listen carefully. You probably think you were saving her." I said nothing. "You are not." He continued, his voice colder now. "You're simply making things worse, right?" I did not flinch. "Look, guy, she came here. I did not go looking for anything." "Of course she did," he replied. "That's what she does when things get difficult. She flees." He's moving closer. "And guys like you believe that makes you unique. It does not." I didn't say anything. He looked at me for a second longer. Then she delivered a dry smirk, as if he thought he had won something, and walked away, didn't even look back. I stood for a moment. I tried to shake it off, but it clung. Melissa did not show up that day, or the next. I did not text. I did not call. I figured she needed some room. Or perhaps that was it. Maybe she had become terrified. She changed her mind, back to pretending everything was fine. I did, however, see her again on Friday right before closing. She pulled up quickly, not reckless, just an urgent matter, same hoodie. But her eyes seemed different, wide, alert, like someone running on sheer adrenaline. I met her halfway across the parking lot. "Did he come here?" she asked. I nodded. He did. She looked down, hands stuffed into her hoodie pockets. I suspected he may. He's predictable in that regard. He always attempts to end things before I can make a decision. "What would you like to do?" I asked, gently. She looked up. Eyes are filling. "I want out," she said. "I want out. And I'm not sure how to accomplish it without losing everything." "Do you need somewhere to stay?" "No, I'm now staying with my sister, but I need help. I need someone to help me load my belongings. He'll be at work till 7. I did not hesitate. "Where?" She gave me the address. Her house. The residence. Large space on a corner lot. White siding, stone walkway. One of those homes that appears flawless in every realtor photo. I drove after her in my truck, remaining quiet the entire time. When we arrived, she didn't even pause. She walked directly to the door. I unlocked it and headed inside. I followed. Everything inside resembled a catalog. Coordinated, neat, sterile. There wasn't a single photograph of them together on the walls, just generic artwork, muted tones. It didn't feel lived in. She moved quickly. I opened a closet. I pulled a suitcase from behind the winter clothes. I started throwing in the necessities, several drawers from the dresser, bathroom supplies, 2 pairs of shoes, a sweatshirt. She did not touch the framed photograph on the nightstand. When she caught me looking at it, she shook her head. "That was taken the day before he cheated on me," she explained. I knew it then. I simply didn't have proof. This was the first time she acknowledged infidelity. "He told me it was a mistake," she continued, "that it meant nothing. However, he never again touched me in the same way, never looked at me in the same way. He says I've changed. Perhaps I did." She zipped up the suitcase. I picked it up. As we walked down the stairs, she paused and stood in the living room. Just a second. She looked about as if she were seeing things for the first time. "This place has never felt like mine," she explained, "not even once." We stepped out. She locked the door behind her and clutched the key in her palm as if she had no idea what to do with it. "Keep it," I said. "You may need it later." She nodded slowly. I loaded her suitcase into the back of the truck. She opened the passenger door but did not enter right away. She looked at me and spoke just above a whisper. When I told him I was done, he laughed, as if he did not believe me, as if he believed I couldn't leave. That left me speechless, so I didn't. Then she got inside the truck. For the second time, she took the seat next to me, closed the door, and did not glance back. We drove in silence. She did not cry. We didn't talk. She simply stared straight ahead, her eyes hot but dry. I dropped her off at her sister's place. It was a tiny brick house on a quiet street. She thanked me, but before she left, she whispered something that stayed with me. Everything in my life felt wrong except for you. She shut the door before I could reply. I sat there for a moment before driving off. And yes, it meant something. I helped Melissa move out 2.5 weeks ago. We didn't say much throughout that time. Only a few texts here and there, nothing deep, just checking in. She needed space. I handed it to her. No part of me expected anything. I was not playing the long game trying to swoop in and grab her hand. I just knew she'd made a difficult decision, and I didn't want to complicate matters by checking in every 5 minutes to see how she was doing. Sometimes the greatest thing to do is simply not disappear. Maintain a consistent presence in the background until someone is ready. She texted me on a peaceful Saturday morning. Coffee. That was it. One word. I informed her where I would be. A modest diner off Route 11. Old restaurant with sticky tables, poor lighting, and the finest pancakes within 20 miles. She arrived 15 minutes later, hair down this time. No makeup, same sneakers and hoodie. She appeared exhausted but serene. She sat across from me. We ordered coffee. I didn't talk at first. That was okay. With her, quiet was never awkward. It felt deserved. When the waitress delivered our mugs, she curled her hands over them as if they were something warm she hadn't touched in a long time. I needed to know the dust would settle, she added quietly. It always does. I responded. She offered me a slight smile. Yes, but it does not necessarily settle in the way you choose. I nodded. He served me papers, she said. Divorce. No fight. There's no scene, just a document placed in my sister's mailbox. No note. Nothing. This is quite on brand for him. Are you cool with that? She took a sip and thought for a second. Yes, I guess I am. I knew she meant it. She peeked out the window and saw a couple of teens laughing on their way inside the gas station across the street. Then she said, Do you know what I did yesterday? What I caught a bus to a different part of town. I walked into a staffing agency, created a new resume. This is the first time I've done it in 9 years. That is brave. That was overdue, she said. She leaned forward slightly. You know, there's something peculiar that happens when you leave a relationship like mine. You spend so much time trying to be smaller, quieter, easier, and more acceptable that when it's over, you don't recognize yourself. You don't have to figure it out completely at once, I explained. She smiled. I understand. That is why I am not attempting to be anyone's anything right now. I was not going to ask, I responded. But I am here. That has not altered. I understand, she said. That's sort of the point. She swirled her coffee and peered at it as if it could tell her the next story. Then she remarked, Do you recall the day I said I regretted marrying him? I nodded. That was the first time I had ever said it aloud, she explained. It felt like a crime.